Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about Centralia. And this is by a number of people. Let's see what we've got. Heath, Amodio, Michael Patrick Hicks, Adam Cesare, or Caesar, depending on who you are, Brian Keene, Brian Quinn, and Cullen Bunn. It's got cover art by Keelan Patrick Burke. Keelan Patrick Burke. It's edited by Cullen Bunn and Heath Amodio. It's from Hustle and Heart Films. There's their logo. Kind of fun. It says Centralia on the cover and on the spine, but on the back it says Centralia Epicenter. And on the copyright page, it says Centralia Epicenter. So I don't know what to tell you. It's called. And on the copyright page, I'm just going to read you this little thing here. It says, these are real towns, cities, and areas. I already screwed that up. Excuse me. Let's start over. There are real towns, cities, and areas called Centralia, found throughout the United States. These are real places. The stories contained in this publication are fictional stories, although some of these stories are based on true events and local legends. So what we have here is the first in a series of shared world anthologies. And the idea is that all of these towns named Centralia, hopefully that's the way you pronounce it, are epicenters for evil. And they're connected. It's a network. Again, from the back, throughout the United States, the name Centralia crops up again and again. A dozen towns where thousands of people live, never realizing the supernatural forces are aligning against them. So these six authors have told 6 stories of 6 different Centralias. Excuse me. On the contents page, it tells you the location of each one, and they each have these nice, there's a little map that'll show you where it is, and then they have this page here, this side, that gives you the location, the coordinates, what does it say, country, state, county, the area, elevation, population, and first epicenter sighting, the date of that, and the percent of the town that's burning. So nice little touches there. Now, I'm going to have to keep looking at this so I can keep all this straight. Our first story is Grandma's Eyes by Heath Amodio. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And this is Centralia, Washington. It's a pretty good story. I like it. It's about I believe she's a 16-year-old girl who was in a car accident and is now blind. And she and her mother are going to visit her grandmother in Centralia, Washington. And this young girl has a weird reaction around her grandmother. She gets these migraine headaches. But then they get there, and the young girl and her mom get to the grandma's house. And some strange things, supernatural things, start happening. As always, don't want to spoil anything. It's a good story. I like it. I like what goes down. But it's not an introductory story. There is a page right before the table of contents that gives you a sort of a quick rundown of some Centralias, but there's none of the stories are setup stories. They're each just their own individual stories, which is fine. We don't need, if you've read the back of the book, if you've read this page before the table of contents, you know what you're getting. So each story is its own individual thing. So this first story, Grandma's Eyes, is not a setup for everything else. It's just, this is something that happens in Centralia, Washington. So next, Sundown by Michael Patrick Hicks, which is in Kansas. Possibly the darkest of the stories. It's very timely. It's about a young woman, again, who goes to... This Centralia was a sundown town. And even though, of course, that's now illegal, the town still sort of finds a way to kick black people out of town before the sun goes down. There was a lynching in this town, and this young woman was looking at pictures from the crime scene and everything online, and she notices some symbols on the tree where the young black man was hanged, and she goes to investigate. Again, supernatural stuff going on, and evils just sort of building in these different towns. Again, very good story. Excuse me. And again, just because of the themes, the racism, the sundown towns, this felt like the darkest story, and perhaps the timeliest. Let's see. Next we have A Certain Kind of Forest Sound by Adam Cesare. This one's in Texas. Another female lead, and this one's in first person, and I really, really like the character and the way that the author finds the character's voice. I love the way the character speaks, the way the character narrates the story. This is another young woman, as I said, excuse me, who she's a mixed martial arts trainer. She likes to go out for these walks out in the woods, goes hiking, and just listen to the sounds of the forest. And she has heard cryptids in the forest, but now there's this weird sound, and she tries to stay to the north of the area she's in, because to the south is Centralia, and it's a bad place. But she hears this weird sound, and it's drawing her, and she ends up crossing into the border of Centralia, and some stuff goes down. This is a little more open-ended, I think, than the other stories, but just Adam Cesare's writing, fantastic. Again, love the voice of this character. Hopefully we'll see, or technically read, more things with this character in first person, because I really, really enjoyed the way it was written. Then we have this one, The Valley of the Yunwi Sundi. All right, I don't know about that pronunciation. This is Brian Keene. Takes place in West Virginia, and it has two of his characters that we've seen before, if you're a Brian Keene fan. Levi Stoltzfus, who has starred in a number of Brian Keene novels, novellas, short stories. I believe he's in at least one that I have not read yet, because I don't think it's available to the general public in a paperback yet. But anyway, he's a great character, sort of a supernatural investigator type character, but who uses powwow. He's I'm not sure if he was kicked out of the Amish society or if he left because of some things that happened in his past. It's been a while since I've read one of the books featuring him. But he's in this. He's a much beloved character of Brian Keene. And then Don Bloom, I believe is the character's name, who is an ex-soldier, at least at this point. I believe he first appeared in Babylon Falling, something like that, which is a short story. It sounds like maybe he's appeared in some other stories that I haven't read. Unfortunately, I have not read every single thing Mr. Keene has written, as much as I would love to. But these two characters end up in Centralia, West Virginia, and work together to battle some evil that is there. And I mean, it's Brian Keene. It's good stuff. Great characters, interesting story. As always, ties in obviously, with two characters from other things, ties into everything. Brian Keene's got that whole labyrinth going on. And so, which essentially means that this whole shared world anthology series is connected to Brian Keene's work. And the Yunwi Sunti are a local legend, and obviously they're going to work into this story. And I like what was done with this. Then we have G.W. Bolt and the Case of the Grabbed Ghost by Brian Quinn. This one takes place in New York. Brian Quinn, I would say, mostly known for Impractical Jokers. He's one of the Tenderloins. Maybe some of you know him from the Misery Index, which the Tenderloins are on. So that's where I know him from. Is Impractical Jokers, the Misery Index. He's a funny guy. Don't know how much he's had published. I think he co-wrote a comic with Cullen Bunn. But anyway, this story is the one that's really different in that it's more of, to me, it felt more like an origin story for this character, G.W. Bolt, and less of a excuse me, it's less of a story in the sense that the others are. There is just a little bit of what's actually happening in the present. That's my air quotes. And more about where G.W. Bolt came from and the mysteries surrounding who he is. And just off the back of it, they describe him as, it's somewhere because it tells you, a clockwork robot detective. So right off the bat, I'm interested in that sort of thing. So yes, G.W. Bolt is an artificial man. Gears, clockwork, gears and such. No real face to speak of, which is a problem. And he can't speak. He has like a chalkboard that he writes on when he wants to communicate, but he tries to stay away from the public because he's afraid. He doesn't want to be dissected by the government and that kind of thing. And he has the ability to speak to ghosts. And he knows that something's going on here in Centralia in New York. And I really liked this story, and I would love to see more of this character. Even though, again, there's less story in the sense that the others have, more origin to the character, but to me he's an interesting character. So hopefully there's going to be more about this guy. But yeah, and basically he just, aside from the origin stuff, he grabs a ghost, talks to it a little bit, and then some stuff happens. Without giving too much away. Pardon me. And then finally, we have The Grasp of Wraiths, which is Cullen Bunn. This takes place in, just want to make sure I'm reading this. Yes, Missouri, the M.O. They have the abbreviation there. And Cullen Bunn, I mainly know from comic books. I would guess that's where, if you're familiar with his name, that's where you're going to know him from. I think the first thing I read by him was The Sixth Gun, which was a horror Western comic. I know a lot of people praise Harrow County, which is a horror comic. I have not read it yet. I do have the first omnibus on order from my local comic book store. But he's done a lot of stuff with Venom, and just I've read a lot of his Venom stuff. But let's see, if we look at the about the creators, he has written Deadpool, Uncanny X-Men, Magneto, Fearless Defenders. Oh, As Guardians of the Galaxy. I forgot about that. I loved that book because it had Thor Frog in it, one of my favorite characters. He's written Sinestro, Lobo for DC, and then a bunch of creator-owned comics, The Sixth Gun, Harrow County, Metro, Bone Parish. I want to check out Bone Parish. I haven't read that yet, but it looks pretty interesting. Anyway, so that's Cullen Bunn and the Grasp of Wraiths. His character is a necromancer, and he is asked to come to Centralia by another necromancer that he's frenemies with because there's a ghost problem in Centralia, Missouri, and it turns out to be not quite what the townspeople seem to think it is, even though people are being murdered by ghosts. There's more to it, and we get some hints as to who this necromancer is. And I like stories with necromancers, that kind of stuff, and I really enjoyed this. I mean, they're all okay. So that's the those are the 6 stories, and they're all good. They're all well written. Excuse me. They're all different. Since this is an anthology, no one's trying to match their writing styles. They're all written in completely different styles, and they're all written well. I like all of the characters, the main characters that we meet, and I don't know what the future of this anthology holds. I don't know if we're going to see these characters again. If it's just going to be these same authors in each one. Maybe the next book will have some different authors, introduces different characters. I don't know if they're going to cross over. I have no idea. But I would be happy to see all of these characters again, especially G.W. Bolt, just because, again, I like that whole clockwork detective kind of thing. It's sort of a genre mashup. Always happy to read Brian Keene. This is the first prose that I've read from Cullen Bunn. I really enjoyed it. I could see it easily as a comic book. Absolutely the first thing I've read by Brian Quinn. As I said, I don't know if he's got anything else out there, except for, again, I think he co-wrote a comic. But I liked his. Adam Cesare, big fan of his. And I'm trying to think if I've read a bunch of his stuff. I don't know that any of it was in first person. I'm very impressed by the way he captured the voice of the character. Like I said, Michael Patrick Hicks. Heath Amodio is the one person in here that I've never heard of before. Sorry, Heath. But I enjoyed his story. Skipping anybody? I think that's it. It all works, and it's an interesting introduction to what I hope is a long and fruitful shared universe series. As I said, don't know where this is going. It came out on Halloween, I believe was the release date, and I actually first heard of it a week, maybe even less, before Halloween on Twitter. I saw that Cullen Bunn had tweeted something to Brian Quinn about something like, let's collaborate again, or our next collaboration's coming. I don't know what he said. And then I just started, Brian Keene, some of the others were just posting little teases, little bits of the cover, which I like. Nice cover by Keelan Patrick Burke. Got it right this time. Just little teases for about a week leading up to the release. And I jumped on it as soon as it was released. I ordered it. Because again, Brian Keene, love his writing. Adam Cesare, love his writing. Cullen Bunn, big fan of his comics. And, I like Brian Quinn on Impractical Jokers and the Misery Index. And Dinner Party, that's their fun new lockdown show. Michael Patrick no, wait, what is it? Yeah, Michael Patrick Hicks. I thought maybe I made a mistake there because you got Keelan Patrick Burke and Michael Patrick Hicks. I can't remember if I've actually read any Michael Patrick Hicks tongue twisters. don't recall. I'm familiar with the name. I just don't recall if I've read any of his other stuff. This is getting a little rambly. I recommend it. I gave it 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, I think, is what I did. Yeah, it's, if you like supernatural stuff, if you like, I mean, obviously supernatural horror, if you like paranormal detective type of stuff, that was what I was trying to think of there. You've got, well, at least 3. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the stories really feature paranormal detective types of characters, people who know that there's more to the world than what most people see. Grandma's Eyes, the characters learn that there's more to the world than what most people see. And certain kind of forest sound, even though the character is familiar with cryptids, I wouldn't call them a paranormal detective type character at this point, although she may become one because of the events of this story. Anyway, yeah, I recommend it. It's great writing, great authors, really cool premise. So, yeah, there you go. That's Centralia by a bunch of people. All right, so if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, put them in the comments below. Comments are always open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning because we like to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. If I mispronounced anything, please correct me, because I don't want to say anybody's name wrong. And unless it's Adam Cesare, because I know he always says Adam Caesar. But I like to say, I'm contrary sometimes. I like to say Adam Cesare. So please like, share, and subscribe. And I think that's it. I don't know what video I'm going to link at the end of this video while I'm stalling here, because, you know, the little subscribe thing is going to pop up and a little link thing is going to pop up. But, you know, I got quite a few people to choose from. Or technically, since out of all these people, I've only reviewed Keene and Cesare, it'll probably be something by one of them. Have I reviewed a Levi Stoltzfus? I think I have. So I'll probably link that since he's a character in this book. Anyway, this has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.